Welcome back to part 2 of Ceramics with Sheriff, and we are going to be putting together our slab project today. So I'm going to do the box. Mr. Sheriff was a dummy and forgot to put this in a bag last night, so this is trash, along with this one. Don't be like Mr. Sheriff. Anyway, so let's get moving on the box. I talked to you guys about using some old newspaper to put between your pieces. So now you can see what this did. It's a little bit firm now. I can still bend it a little bit, but it'll hold its shape. So it's just about leather hard, so that is perfect for this project. So I'm just gonna organize my pieces. And if you guys remember, I lost one. Guess I gotta make 2 pieces today. So I have my bottom here, and I have one side, I have another side, and another side. So I need a side and a top. So we're just gonna set these aside. We're gonna go over rolling these one more time. And I need to cut my paper out. So as you guys can see, I made an extra template just to make an account for the little 2 extra long pieces I need here. So I'm gonna quick roll my slab. Now what I like to do is just flatten my slab and just make it wide enough for this. As long as it's wide enough for that, then I wanna roll long. So we're gonna get moving with this. So hopefully I can get both my pieces out of this. I like to flip my slab over sometimes just to roll it both ways. And I think that should be Gucci. So let's see. So I'm gonna cut my one piece out, and then hopefully that's big enough for the top. So I'm just gonna use a needle tool or a knife, put my template on there, and try to cut as nice and even as I can. So just dragging straight lines. All right, now I'm ready to assemble. Now this piece is gonna be a little bit soft, but that's okay. I have my board here, and that board sucks the moisture out of clay, so I should be okay in a few minutes, just leaving it right there. All right, I used my rib to smooth out my pieces yesterday. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna assemble these. I'm gonna start with my base, and then I'm gonna start with my smaller wall, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and start moving. So I'm gonna turn this camera on 2 times speed and up close so you guys can really get a detailed view of what this looks like. All right, up close and personal. I'm gonna do without words this time. So you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice at this point. So the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna score it. This is just like my toothpick tool that has a bunch of toothpicks, and I got my water over here for my slip. So I'm gonna go ahead and score all sides of the base. And then you guys will notice, actually I'll go over it later, but after I attach them, I put coils where all the attachments are to help hold this piece together. But let's get moving on this and get started. All right, cool. So now we just need the top, which my dummy self cut my piece I needed. So I'm just gonna roll that a tiny bit and see if I can't. All right, so last step here, I'm gonna close my form. So what I wanna do is just make sure this is all smooth. I can always smooth it out later. I rolled this a little thin, but I don't feel like rolling out more clay at the moment. So I'm gonna skip scoring. You know what? For once, Sheriff's gonna do it right. So let's just do it the right way. Maybe I'll keep this one. So score all along the top. You guys could see I added coils along every single seam on the inside, and then I got my finger wet and I really used that to smooth that clay back and forth. So you can almost barely see that the coils are in there. And you pull out any of the extra stuff, but that works really good at holding that pot together. And then when I was done, I had to go flip it over and smooth all those seams on the bottom. So when I attach them, I really run my fingers across and try to smooth that seam together and push it together. And that really will help those scoring marks adhere together. And then let's finish this up. So I score, I dab my water on with my brush. You can be kind of liberal with the water, so add a good amount. And you let that sit for a second. And so where the slip comes is that top surface of the clay is wet. And then when I scrape it, it gets all sticky and kind of turns into a little bit like slip. And then we will stick the top on there. It's okay if the top's a little bigger. You guys could see some of mine were hung over a little bit, so that's why I was trimming them off like this towards the end. All right, trick with the bottom. If this is firm enough, I can really give it a good push and a wiggle to get that adhered. If you put the top on when it's too soft, it's gonna go like this. And that's no bueno, you don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna go along and smooth this all together. And that will pretty much conclude today. So my next video, I'm gonna paint this thing and I'm gonna do my sgraffito. So my clay is obviously a different color than yours, but you guys will still be able to see the contrast between the black underglaze and this, or maybe I'll use gray. So I would just attach that. Now, obviously I can't get on the inside, so I can't smooth those seams on the inside, but what I can do all right, so when you cut this, so I'm just gonna cut mine, and just for the fun of it, I'm gonna use a razor blade, which is really dangerous, but it gives me a nice line because it's thin. A needle tool works really good too. You don't really wanna use this, and I'll show you why. So the first step is kind of slowly pushing it in. You don't wanna saw back and forth. What you wanna do is kind of just pull. Be really careful. So I'm just gonna do a couple triangles. So I'm just pushing in, and then when I need to make a different line, I carefully pull that out and I go through it. So we'll use this side as my example of what a fat knife looks like. So just pulling, and be really careful with this. And that should be it. So obviously you guys are gonna use what tools you have at home. Now, here's the one I did with the kitchen knife. spot. Here we go. All right, and here's my point. You can see what the kitchen knife did, which is okay, because I can always go back in and smooth that out. So if that's what you guys got, that's what you guys got to do, right? But you see how smooth those carvings are from the razor blade or the X-Acto knife? It's buttery smooth. And then here I have kind of the jagged edge from the kitchen knife. A needle tool works really good, and it's just because this has the little scrapey parts on it, and this is just a smooth blade, so it doesn't have little scrapey parts on it. I'm gonna put that away. But now I have my lid cut. So what I would need to do, this was my base, so we'll set that aside for a second. And then all I'm gonna do is make sure I smooth these seams with coils like I did before. Because when I attach the top, obviously I could no longer get on the inside, so I just roll a little coil, nice soft one, dip it in, and I'm gonna hold the outside, and I just kind of push it in and work all the way down while I'm holding the outside. And then what I'm gonna do is just take my finger and kind of massage that clay back and forth. If you have nails, you obviously can't do that, but you can find something else to do that. And it's good to do it on a flat surface. I was holding it up so you guys could see, but it's good to do it on a flat surface so that I'm pushing against the clay. And I want to try to make it look like that coil was never there. So now you can see that side where I added the coil, nice and smooth in there. These ones I still have to do it. We're not going to do that. I would just go and gently smooth out these parts. I don't want to mess with them too much, otherwise this pot's not going to fit back together. So I cut one triangle up so that I knew where to put it together, just to make it a little easier. What was I going to cut? This right here. So it should, snug back together. Cool. So all I gotta do then, this side looks beautiful, so let's look at that one. That's a nice side right there. So obviously some of my sides still need work. The one I cut with the butter knife's a little messed up, so I gotta smooth that out. But then the other ones are still pretty nice. They just need to get smoothed out a little bit. And that's it. So I have my slab box built. My next step would be smoothing everything out, getting it nice and neat, and then tomorrow I'm gonna work on my sgraffito. All right, this is Sheriff out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one today.